You have a business idea, or maybe you don't, but you do know that you want to be an entrepreneur. Do you need an MBA? Our guest, Senior Executive Director at HEC Paris's Innovation Entrepreneurship Center, is going to share her thoughts and profound experience with us in today's episode.
Welcome to Admission Straight Talk, the podcast dedicated to graduate admissions and helping you approach the application process thoughtfully and successfully. Your host is Accepted's founder and world-renowned admissions guru, Linda Abraham. At Accepted, our mission is to get you to that unforgettable moment when you read your acceptance email and shout, "Yes, I'm in!" Confident you'll be attending the perfect program to help you launch the career of your dreams.
Welcome to the 492nd episode of Admission Straight Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Are you trying to figure out how you should approach the 4 to 8 applications that you're planning to submit when applying to an MBA program? You can get tips and answers by taking Accepted's free, short, just 6 questions quiz at accepted.com/mapmba. That's MAPMBA. By taking the quiz, you'll get a sense of how well you're approaching this critical process and as well gain access to relevant resources, both free and paid, that will provide you with an effective and efficient strategy for your MBA application effort. Take this quick quiz at accepted.com/mapmba. Our guest today, Inge Kerkloh-Devif, earned her Master's in Marketing and Communications at HEC Paris in 2006. Since then, she worked in business in Paris and then became Executive Vice President of HEC Paris's Executive Education Program, focusing on global business development. In 2019, she moved into her current role as Senior Executive Director and Senior Vice President of the HEC Paris Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. And in 2021, I guess she was bored, she added to her responsibilities the role of co-site lead executive at the Creative Destruction Lab in Paris in partnership with the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. Inge, welcome to Admission Straight Talk.
Thank you very much, Linda.
A pleasure to have you. Now, can you tell us a little bit about both HEC's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center and the Creative Destruction Lab in Paris?
Yeah, of course. And thank you very much for having me. So the Innovation Entrepreneurship Center at HEC is actually the whole ecosystem we built as a school around innovators and entrepreneurs. So as we say, we think, we teach, we act around innovation and entrepreneurship, so which means we do research on innovation and entrepreneurship. We have more than 20 programs we are teaching at the school to teach innovation and entrepreneurship to our students. And last but not least, we have all our incubators, acceleration programs, so the learning by doing, by action part. So again, we think, we teach, we act around innovation entrepreneurship. And to conclude on this, entrepreneurship is really part of the DNA of the school. We have one of our masters, it's more than 45-year-old. So it's really a long-lasting tradition, so to say, to work on entrepreneurship at HEC Paris. So this is my answer for HEC Paris and the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. CDL, Creative Destruction Lab, has been founded 10 years ago in Canada, actually, in Toronto, at the Rotman Management School. So very interesting. And now they're partnering with 12 universities all over the world. And it's actually an objective-based program for massively scalable seed stage science and technology-based companies. To make a long story short, it's really an acceleration program for deep tech. And this program actually has an intake for more than 600 companies per year now. So it's really around deep tech and global acceleration program. So this is the CDL Creative Destruction Lab. And we have one lab in Paris, and we have one lab on climate and one lab on space.
What's the difference between deep tech and tech?
Very good question. I think I can give
I thought you were going to think it's a simple, an elementary, ignorant question, but anyways, go ahead.
I think I can give like 10 different answers to this. So for us, it's really, we can see this really emerging more and more engineering and scientific projects. And so those are really long long-term project. So we are working with scientists and engineers to get this fundamental engineering and scientific projects to grow. So for us, it's really, based on scientific project and engineering projects to give this deep tech long-term projects.
Wow. I was wondering if a distinction was there are companies that use existing tech in innovative ways, and then there are companies that are developing new tech.
Yeah, I think it's also the way we can, again, when I say we're working with the scientists and engineers, they're coming out of the laboratories. It's research based. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it's an interesting way to say it.
All right, that's fascinating. If I have a business idea, it probably would not be deep tech, but if I had a business idea, or maybe I don't yet have a business idea, but I know that I want to be an entrepreneur at some point in my career, how can an MBA help me succeed?
I think two different stages. If you have already your idea, or if you're just joining an MBA. What we can see is very often the people are launching their business or their ideas a little bit after the MBA studies, actually. So they learn all the basics, they build their network, they meet also people, and then the business ideas actually growing and emerging a little bit later. So this is one thing we can see. So the MBA is first, and the business idea and the growing business is then after they graduate. But also we have some of them, they already have their business ideas. So for example, at HEC, we offer a specialization for entrepreneurship. So then you can, even during your MBA studies, you can meet investors, you can learn from peers to peer, and you can get access to this quite amazing ecosystem we have. So you can grow your idea during your studies and get help again from peers, from professors, from the ecosystem, from HEC alumni, again, this whole ecosystem around you. So two different ways to do your entrepreneurship project when you come to an MBA at HEC at least. Do
you have any idea? I know this you might not have at your fingertips. How many, and I'm going to pronounce it the American way because I don't know how to do it the French way. How many HEC grads start their own business either while at HEC or immediately after? And then how many do it a few years down the road?
Yeah. So the figures, the data we have, because we follow up on those data. First answer, almost 25% of our grads have the plan to build their own business when they're graduating, which is an amazing amount, to be honest, because a few years ago, 5 or 10 years ago, was not the same amount of people. People were going to consulting, to a bank, whatever.
Fashion.
And now, and in very international companies like L'Oreal or whatever. And now they're more and more interested in building their own business. So again, 25% overall at HEC. So we have on campus per year 400 projects. So our students are building 400 projects per year when they are on campus.
And that would not just be MBA, that would be multiple degree programs, right?
It's MBA and our master degrees. Right. So an executive MBA too. So we go, because we have the MBA, the full-time MBA, and the executive MBA. Right. So 400 projects per year. Not all of them are growing then and going further, but then we have the HEC Incubator. So what we can see when they come to the incubator, so at the moment we have 200 projects at the incubator. And to answer your last question, Linda, is how many times, what about 3 years or 4 years down the road, is we have a survival rate, as we say, of 85% 3 years ago, after they started at the incubator.
Right. So that's very impressive.
It's a very high figure, and so most of them are really pursuing their business then once they have joined the HEC Incubator.
And what kind of support do they get from the incubator? I guess they get office space.
This is a small part, office space, and we are now post-pandemic, so office space is nice, but it's not the whole piece. So they have office space. Still, they have a very fancy office space because our incubator is at Station F, which is the most important startup campus worldwide. And then we have our 200 startups there. So they have office space, of course, but this is a small part. I think the important part is we have a specific sur mesure custom-made program, which is not a fixed program. So they have an a la carte menu. They have office hours with our experts, our alumni, our professors. We have 650 experts around our incubees, so to say, in our incubator. So they get this custom-made a la carte program, depending on their project. They have staff, for sure, following them, and then they have access to this amazing team of experts.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I think they quite benefit a lot from our alumni network, which also give them not only access to finance or funding or whatever, it's also about business. And I think at the moment, I think it's even more important to get the business access to have your first customers and not only fundraising. So yeah, again, they benefit then from this ecosystem.
That's fantastic. Sound very, very impressive. Now, in reading, sometimes you hear criticism of the MBA as a tool for as a tool for entrepreneurs. I remember a year or two ago, I read an article in the Wall Street Journal by Andy Kessler, who's a columnist there, and he argued that the MBA isn't worth it. And let's face it, some will say that entrepreneurs would be better off acquiring business skills less expensively, taking the courses or getting a certificate, and then investing the $200,000 that they would end up investing in the MBA when you add up out-of-pocket expenses and lost income. Invest it in their entrepreneurial venture and learn from the experience. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, I think we get this question quite often, and
I'm sure you get
all the candidates joining us sometimes asking this question too. I think a few answers to this. There's not one answer, of course. What we can see is the competencies they get during the MBA really help them to be very efficient in the business world. So, and especially honestly, during the pandemic and this uncertainty, people are even looking more for MBA training. So we really had increasing numbers of people joining the MBA during this uncertain times. So first part of the answer. Second, we also follow our MBA students a couple of years after they graduated. So what we can see, they have all an ROI. They don't ask this question anymore 3 or 4 years later, to be honest. So it's also something like a feedback for us. Again, they can benefit then from our faculty, of course. Last but not least, I think network and community are priceless. They're getting access to this big alumni community. We have 68,000 alumni all over the world. We have more than 80, we call them chapters, group of people in different countries.
Sure.
So they get immediately access to a totally global network. I think this is also something which is really interesting for them. And actually the HEC MBA is ranked #1 for this networking part by The Economist in 2021, just to give you an idea. So last but not least, network and community might be priceless.
Right. Even though I asked the question, as I was asking it, I was reminded of a saying I have on the wall in my kitchen. And it's by a local writer named Will Rogers, who was very popular apparently in the United States in the 1930s. And he wrote that good judgment comes from experience. And most of that comes from bad judgment. So so maybe the MBA short circuits some of that bad judgment part, which can be very expensive.
Can be very, very expensive.
Very, very expensive. Yes.
And I think also what we all say is we accelerate through MBA, you accelerate your understanding, your capability to judge your business loadage. So it probably just give you an acceleration process, so to say, like a startup.
And like I said, you avoid some of that bad judgment education. Now, you mentioned earlier the difference, what we discussed, the difference between deep tech entrepreneurship or specifically deep tech entrepreneurship. Can you see how's that developing going forward? You and I spoke briefly earlier this week, and you mentioned that you were at a very interesting conference. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, We really see an exciting development on this. In Europe, and in France, you have a lot of important engineer schools, and we can see really, generally speaking, a lot of more and more projects coming out of that. And then at HEC, we actually mix up those engineers with our business people. And this is so exciting. When we think about the future of tomorrow, there's a lot of technology. Our economy, our world will benefit. And I say will benefit from the future technology. Climate crisis, we will have through technology and innovation. And the conference I was in, I have spent a few days this week, is actually AIC, which is the International Conference for Astronauts, actually took place in Paris this year. And I can now see entrepreneurs taking part of the space adventure. Okay, obviously there's Elon Musk and SpaceX, for sure. But still, we can see so many development coming now from this entrepreneurship and being able to contribute to our future space adventure future. And again, space will be part of our world tomorrow. Space can help us to have a look on climate. And so many opportunities. And actually, Mr. Al Gore mentioned it in Davos this year, saying that there's like a momentum where entrepreneurship can be part of the future solution and for the solution space for good, so to say. So he really sees a momentum here at the moment. So to sum up, we are totally excited about this impact from technology and combining this with our business, our students, and then having this technology entrepreneurship being part of building our future. This is what we can see, I think, worldwide, and especially in Europe and in France.
Wow, very interesting.
So it was amazing time to be there and see.
It sounded like fascinating. But I mean, look, the space exploration is exciting and interesting. And I very vividly remember, man's landing on the moon and watching it on television. That has not changed our lives, though. How is it going to, it's fascinating. It's exciting. It's all that. But how is it going to improve our lives? Was there any examples of that at the conference?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of examples already, a lot for medical research. Okay. You have different, even L'Oreal do some exciting research in the space. So I think this is what we can see today already having an impact. But it's also what the future can do, again, on climate, for example, all the information we can get from space so that we can have innovation to solve our climate problems we have and we are facing on Earth. So there are more and more solutions coming out of space helping us. There are also some, we can see it like, it's an important impact actually. We can give access to internet worldwide. Right. It's a lot of things we can get there. It's step by step. So I think there are a lot of things coming in the future. And I don't know what we will discover once we are on the moon and we can go to Mars or whatever it is. I think there are a lot of things coming. But immediately, I think research, communication, information, and last but not least, climate challenge. Probably we will get some help out of that.
I believe, just to answer my own question for a minute, I believe Velcro, the fasteners, the Velcro fasteners, came out of NASA and the space exploration of the 60s.
Wow. So
that would be, a very simplistic kind of response, but just probably where my knowledge is at. All right, let's get back to entrepreneurship. What is your favorite piece of advice for, let's say, college students or adults out of college who have what they think of as a great idea for business?
Interesting question. A lot of things I would like to answer. But if I need to say one thing, one advice.
I'll give you more than one. It's okay.
Yeah. No, but there's one I really like. And actually, we say, make it happen, make it big. So means you can have a small and beautiful idea, but look at it and be excited about the idea to grow it in order to have a big impact. When you have one of our students saying, okay, I would like to do selling pizza in one place, would say, okay, think about your place where you can sell pizza, but think about doing it all over the world. Just think about Make it happen, make it big. Think about how your project, even though you need to start small, no doubt about this, think about how you can grow it if there's an opportunity to grow it, and if you can scale it in order to get impact, and a more important impact. We are really looking at all our projects. We're looking that they have an impact on business and society. So this would be the second answer an advice I would give. Is this project able to contribute to business and to economy, but also on society? And we can see honestly at our students, they are more and more looking for that. How can I have an impact on economy and on society, or on climate or whatever? So looking for impact. What's your impact through this project?
What's the social good? What's the benefit? I mean, any legitimate business really has to serve a need or solve a problem.
Sorry?
I said any legitimate business has to serve a need or solve a problem.
Yeah. And I think business can help to do a lot of things. Governments have a part, a lot of ONGs have part, but also business can really help and have an impact tomorrow. At least we are totally convinced about this. And it's also responsible to be responsible. If you start your business, you need to be responsible of what you're doing with your business and the way you grow it.
For sure.
Yeah. So make it happen, make it big, and look for impact on economy and society. Those would be the two answers I would give to a person asking me.
Great. Speaking about making it big or having impact, of the 4 new unicorns in France in 2022, 2 of them, their master's degrees at, and again, I'm going to pronounce it the American way, I apologize, HEC. Of a total of 24 unicorns, HEC alumni founders represented 25%, which I think, actually, it was a different 25% you alluded to. Now, that's a pretty impressive track record, if you ask me. What aspects of HEC's entrepreneurial offerings do you feel were most helpful in these entrepreneurs having the impact and making it so big? Maybe it's just your focus. I don't know. But what would you answer?
It's not our focus to start with, because we think unicorns are important, but you also can grow a business without being a unicorn. So first answer, we don't focus on unicorns. For sure, as I mentioned, make it happen, make it big. If you have a unicorn, you can have a huge impact. Our first unicorn was actually Doctolib, which is a platform to help to have your medical appointments. And actually, it was so helpful during the pandemic to the government and for all of us, for all citizens. So again, unicorn and having a big impact is nice, but not only unicorns are our focus, definitely. So what make the difference? It's a huge number, to be honest. We're a little bit surprised, even though ourselves. And so we thought about what do we do? What kind of reason might be behind? What we can see is, again, we think education can really help you. And being performant and driving a business with performance. First, education. Second, as I mentioned, we mix up those engineers with our business students. So the fact that you can bring those people together, they sit in one classroom, they meet, they can find some very brilliant ideas. So second, the diversity of our students might be an answer. And then the third part is, I mentioned it earlier for the incubator, we really think that there's an ecosystem around HEC students with alumni, with those professors. And there's a very close link to all this ecosystem. So we also think this ecosystem around them will help them really to grow and to make their business happen. So might be 3 reasons. There might be others. I should ask our students or our unicorns, actually.
That'd be great,
And they're really, it's really nice because they now say, very often they say, thank you to HEC. Thank you. My experience has been important. So thank you for helping me to be able to build this business. So it's nice also.
That is very nice. Must be very rewarding.
Yeah.
What are some of the differences between entrepreneurship in Europe and in the United States? or in France, specifically in the United States?
Nice question, Linda. So if I answer, there are not a lot of differences. This
Okay.
might be surprising for the US. I don't know.
Probably is.
No, honestly, what we can see it again, there are not so much differences. What we can see is that Europe was a little bit behind the US, honestly, on this part, and we can see a growing ecosystem and growing support. The government has been very supportive, especially the French government in the last years. So we can see more and more investment, more and more funding opportunities, more and more support from the government, more and more students, as I mentioned, looking for entrepreneurship. So I would say that we are catching up in Europe, and the way to do the business is almost the same. There's a little difference because you're not in one place. We don't have one Silicon Valley, actually.
Right.
I think we have like innovation hubs all over Europe. There are some of them we can see that the value creation is very important. London is still a very important place for value creation. Paris is obviously the other one in Europe. And the third one, which is Munich in Germany. So what is different in Europe is an entrepreneur in Europe is not working in one place. He probably will work in London, work in Munich, work in Paris, which is actually nice, but not in one place. And so you have those ecosystems like mini Silicon Valleys. You have education, you have the corporates, you have finance, and you have the startup projects, but in different places in Europe.
And I would say it's also multilingual.
Yeah, but English is actually the most important language. So you work in English all over Europe. So this is not an issue anymore. It's still nice if you speak some French and if you have aperitif in the evening. That's nice. But it's business English. I would like to, if you don't mind, I would like to mention Asia. Sure. If we talk about the US and Europe, that's perfect. But I think we also need to keep an eye on what's happening in Asia. Even though it's more difficult, and China, it's a little bit more difficult to access at the moment, but there are a lot of things happening on innovation and entrepreneurship in Asia, and especially also in China. So I think altogether, we should have keep an eye on it. There are things going on in Shenzhen, Greater Bay Area. So yeah, let's look let's have a look on innovation entrepreneurship in China. And we shouldn't underestimate the innovation entrepreneurship they have in place, and they are supporting and heavily supporting in Asia Pacific. So there might be Silicon Valley West, Silicon Valley East, and the European, multiple Silicon Valley. So I think a lot of innovation is going on all over the world. And Africa is also starting a little bit to conclude on this. There are some hubs in Northern Africa and also Western Africa, South Africa. There are some special places where innovation entrepreneurship start to grow. So overall, I think the global place is a very innovative place.
Yeah, certainly there's been an enormous amount of change, in the last 30 years.
Yeah. Honestly, we can see this. Yeah,
for sure. So thank you for that answer. Now, one of the entrepreneurial mantras that I hear bandied about is fail fast and fail often. What do you think about that? With an 85% success rate, I'm going to guess you're not too much in favor of it. Yeah. But
I was thinking about it. No, seriously, it's a little bit of culture. We still think, obviously, you can learn from your failures, and you should always learn from your failures. That's for sure. And this is I think it's a global mantra we can have. But from a cultural point of view, failure is not the same in France compared to the US, probably. So we don't like so much failure in France, So again, this is a culture difference. Still, you can learn from failures, but I think we try to help you to be successful. So it's learning by doing, but we would say learning by doing and make your business successful. It can be quite expensive to fail too much. So I don't know. So I think we try to help them to be successful, but still definitely learning by doing And definitely you can learn from your failures. But yeah, a little bit
Yeah,
different,
I read
probably.
once that a failure is a mistake that you didn't learn from. So I'm not a big fan of this mantra, actually. I think it's way overrated.
Okay.
I think most people
Yeah.
definitely prefer success to failure, but I like the definition of failure as a mistake you didn't learn from.
Yeah, very nice.
And that way, if you learn from a mistake, it's not really a failure. Didn't end up the way you wanted, but it's not a complete write-off.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
What would you like me to ask you? This has been fascinating. I really don't want it to end, but I think we both have other things to do.
It was very interesting. Thank you so much, Linda. I think you asked me already about this impact we have from entrepreneurship in tech and space.
Yeah.
So the question around how can we build a better future, and can innovation and entrepreneurship and tech entrepreneurship be part of the solution? You know, not being a problem, but being part of the solution. So this contribution we can give to our future world and economy and society. This is something, we are really it's very close to our heart, actually. So to end our conversation today with saying, hey, we'd like to contribute to this better world. This is something which I'm excited about this, and I can see all those young people and less young people being so innovative and bringing new ideas. So this is a quite exciting environment, actually, we are working in. And it gives me a little bit of hope, saying there are a lot of solutions out there. So let's be a part of the solution.
That's a great idea. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today, Inge. Where can listeners and potential applicants learn more about HEC's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center?
Would be a pleasure if you click on Make It Happen, Make It Big. You can find more information about the Innovation Entrepreneurship Center, other things we are doing, the projects we have. So please join us and click on Make It Happen, Make It Big. Yeah, and join the community.
Wonderful. Thanks again. We're going to include links in the show notes at accepted.com/492 to the HEC Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center, which is makeithappenmakeitbig.com, as well as to other resources and shows of interest to listeners. Listener, thank you too for joining Inge Kerkloh-Devif and me for our 492nd episode. Just a quick reminder, take our new quiz, accepted.com/mapmba. It's free, and it will give you a chance to see how well you are approaching the entire application process. Plus, it also links to additional resources that can really help you out. The quiz and the other resources can all be found in our show notes at accepted.com/492. Our 492nd episode is just about over. Don't miss any of the shows, be they with fascinating professors, informative admissions directors, educational test pros, insightful students, or alumni doing great things. Subscribe so that you get them all. Thanks again for listening. This is Admission Straight Talk, produced by Accepted, and I am your host, Linda Abraham. I'll talk to you again next week.